Hello and welcome to City on the Sofa here on LCFC TV ahead of this huge Premier League game between Leicester City and Sheffield United. It's the Foxes' penultimate home game here at King Power Stadium between now and the end of the season, and it couldn't be any bigger. Now, after that 4-1 defeat to Bournemouth, we've gone with an unchanged team here in the City on the Sofa studio of Gerry, Taggart, Steve Walsh and Chris Powell. Good evening, gents.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dan.
Hi.
How are you doing? Firstly, Chris, you came and you've watched one game with us on LCFC TV this season, and it ended the way that it did down on the South Coast.
Well, I'm sure the fans hope I'm not a bad omen because that was a tough game to take as a supporter and ex-player like Gerry and Steve, and I'm sure everyone's hoping that this evening's game is not a repeat of what happened on Sunday.
Gerry, obviously, I guess the good thing about the way football is at the moment is games come thick and fast. Even when you lose the games, the next one is just around the corner.
Yeah, I suppose that's probably a shining light that, obviously the players have to try and put behind them as quick as possible the result on Sunday, because obviously we've got another humongous game, as you said, tonight against a pretty decent in-form Sheffield United, so they've got to get themselves ready mentally for another mammoth task.
Everyone at home, Walshy, will be so nervous, excited. There'll be a mix of feelings, won't there, ahead of this one?
There will. The pressure's right on now, and it's one of those games. It's like you say, it's only a few days that we play Bournemouth that second half, as we know. I hope that's out of the system. It's a quick turnaround against a really well-organised Chris Wilder team who will be working. How they play. They'll be good at set pieces. They'll be well drilled, well organised. They know the shape inside out. So it's going to be tough to break them down, and an intriguing game we've got.
Absolutely. We said there's no changes in the studio here for City on the Sofa, but there are changes in the Leicester City starting 11, including a debut for fullback Luke Thomas. Now, Gerry, I know you've seen a little bit about Luke, haven't you, in the under-23s, the development squad, and he's in there at left wing back today. Yeah,
absolutely. He's a young player with a lot of potential. There's no doubt about that, but to bring him into a game like we've got tonight is, something slightly different. I suppose the one thing he will be used to is not playing in front of the big crowds when he's under 23, so that shouldn't be an issue for him. But so that's one positive going his way. But as far as the lack of experience is concerned, I only hope that with those three experienced campaigners at the back, and should I say 4 with Casper as well, of course. Hopefully they will help him through the game tonight, because he's definitely a player with a lot of potential.
Walshy, what strikes you when you look at that starting 11 on screen there?
Do you know what? I had a feeling that Big Wes had come back in tonight, obviously. So and choose now out for 3 games, and he's going to miss the rest of the season, which is disappointing for him. The only good thing about that sending off is that he doesn't carry on into next season. I've been sent off before, and it's the worst thing. The very last game of the season, then two games carry into next season. So that's a plus for him. But no, it's a bit of experience with that youth. It's a good balance, I think. Luke Thomas, I've seen him in the under-20. I don't think it's a risk playing him. I think he's a very good player. I've seen him a couple of times now, and obviously James Justin on the other side gives us that real good youth and pace down both flanks. So, like I said, it's going to be an intriguing contest. I'm just, you just look at the supply line, the creators in the team, and there's enough in there to create chances. And as long as we can support Jamie, like we have been doing, then we'll get opportunities. But yeah, the back line, Big Wes coming back in, I think definitely gives it that solidity, and it'd be good to see him back, actually, because he's a great bloke, good captain, and he's been for us, and he's got that experience, like Gerry said, to help the younger kids in the team. He's a big influence.
Sorry, Walsh. Yeah, place on the bench as well for Darnell Johnson and George Hurst. Hurst in particular was having a great season for the development squad. Before that was curtailed, obviously, due to COVID-19. Let's take a look then at the Sheffield United starting 11. Chris Powell, there's not really too many surprises, is there? You could pretty much guess exactly how Sheffield United were going to line up. And I guess that's testament really to the way they have been as a team all season.
Yeah, I mean, you could pretty much close your eyes and you know what 11 they're going to play if there's no injuries. We know what system they're going to play. We know what sort of style. I mean, they are a throwback, but with some real modern day touches. I think it's obviously a great story with their rise as a club under Chris Wilder's stewardship. But it'd be interesting to see how Leicester deal with it and how Leicester line up, whether they are 3-5-2 or whether Barnes and Perez support Jamie from a deeper position. But Sheffield United, we know that set plays are going to be very dangerous. They can go direct, but they can play through. Ollie Norwood's a very, very gifted player. McGoldrick and McBurney are really going to test the back three. And like Walshy said, I think Wes Morgan, I'm sure Brendan looked at it and felt he needed experience to deal with the barrage that's going to come. And even though there's a couple of young players in Barnes and, of course, Thomas, I think with Johnny Evans, if he's on the left side, he'll help Thomas and talk him through it, especially early on. But it's going to be a real test for everyone connected with Leicester, because one thing we know, Sheffield United, when they're on form, they're quite relentless, and it's going to be a game full of concentration from Leicester to make sure they stay in the game.
Stay with us here on City on the Sofa as we build up to kick-off. We'll talk a little bit about Sheffield United later on, as well as hearing from former Fox and former Blade Richard Stearman. As ever, you guys at home are central to this show, so please do send in your feelings ahead of the game as well as your predictions. You can use the hashtags LCFC or hashtag ThenNowAgain. I guess, Chris, the big headline news from a Leicester point of view is the debutant, is Luke Thomas. He's impressed a lot of people in the development squad. It's a position, obviously, you know very well, Chris, left back, whether he is a wing back today, which we assume he will be. How do you think he'll be feeling right now, less than an hour until kick-off, until his debut?
Oh, he'd be excited. It's what he's worked for, and what all the coaches and his family on his journey, and especially someone like Steve Beaglehole with the 23s, will be very proud. I'm sure Beags will have equipped him with what he needs. But until you get out there, until you get a feel of the situation and the game, and you get a few early touches, you're going to be quietly nervous, but hopefully confident enough to go out there. I'm sure Brendan has seen enough, instead of maybe playing someone out of position, or I know young James Justin has played left back as well. But I think he feels he needs someone in that position who knows sort of the nuances of defending. You know, he can play one of the wide players there, but I'm sure if he's making his debut, he has enough that he's impressed everyone at the club, especially Brendan, to be entrusted with making his debut. And that's always a big thing for a player. Once you get the trust from the manager, then you go out there and you do your best to play your normal game and express yourself. But I think one thing, and Gerry is absolutely 100% right, with no crowd, that kind of helps a little bit. But I'm sure he would have preferred a crowd and his family there. But it's needs must at the moment, and obviously Leicester's needs are bigger than having the crowd there at the moment. It's
an interesting point, Gerry, there that Chris makes about the fact there is no crowd there for Luke Thomas's debut. He grew up in Leicester, in Syston. He's a huge Leicester fan and Leicester boy himself, so obviously it would have meant an awful lot to have the crowd here. But conversely, in a way, maybe it's a good thing for him that there isn't a crowd. It's such a pivotal game at this stage of the season that, I don't know, it just adds an extra element in, doesn't it? The pressure almost from the crowd.
Well, exactly, and who actually knows how it's going to turn out for him, because this is the first time we're going to see him in a Leicester shirt for real, and in the big time. So that's one area. Obviously, with with the crowd there, then again you're sort of going into the unknown slightly. Oh, you can do all the talking you want, you can encourage a young player all you want, but at the end of the day, once they're right on the pitch and you soak up that atmosphere, then players respond in different ways. So, as I said, playing at the under-23s, you know, there's not massive crowds at home park when they play there, especially. So we'll be used to that pressure of a crowd being off him. As you say, they're probably love the crowd, but you know, fingers crossed. You know, Powell's got it right. You know, Brendan Rodgers has seen enough of him to make that decision. You know, could have played Christian again tonight, unless I don't know if Christian's got an injury, but he's obviously saw it fit that, you know, young Thomas is due his debut, and as I say, it's a big game for him to come in. But Brendan has the confidence to stick him in there, and he's got the experience at the back to help him through.
Walshy, do you remember what that moment was like when you were about to make your first appearance in proper men's football? What was that like? How nervous were you? What do you think Luke Thomas will be feeling right now?
Obviously, he'll have nerves. You know, he's just getting that breakthrough that you need as a kid, and he's waited long enough to get this opportunity. Myself personally, I'll never forget my debut. It was against Man City in the Milk Cup it was, and I had no idea I was playing in the game until an hour and a half before the kickoff. It was bizarre because Larry Lloyd had hurt his back, and he walked me out on the pitch and told me I was playing. It was you know, a bit of a shock to the system, but I think we lost 2-0, but we gave a good account of ourselves. But it's that opportunity and that breakthrough and that chance in life that you always want. And like I said, he's waited long enough. And I said he's not a risk. He's a very, very talented player. Who knows what he can go on to? It'd be great for him to have a good game tonight. You always want to impress on your debut. Local lad, like you've said, and his family will be very proud of whatever happens. But you know, it's a massive game for him to come into. But I'm sure he can deal with it.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers and Leicester City, I'm sure, will be hoping for a reaction after what happened against Bournemouth at the weekend. And Mark Albrighton was asked if the players were shocked with what happened in that second half.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the first half we felt comfortable in the game. We got the goal in front. Probably could have had a couple more. But then I think we've come out second half. And we've given them, even in the first sort of 5 to 10 minutes before they scored, I think we gave them a bit of hope. We stopped doing what we was doing in the first half. We stopped doing the basics right, and then obviously concede the first goal, and then I think what happened in the next sort of 10-15 minutes is unacceptable from our point of view. We know that down to a player. Everybody knows that to capitulate on a football pitch like that is unacceptable. So it's something that's totally out of our character. I've never seen that before at this football club. So it's a one-off. It won't happen again. The lads are sure of that. We've got to use it to sort of go into the next game. We've got to use that as motivation, and we have to put things right.
Having been so comfortable in the top four for so long in this season, is there any part of you now as a team that's worrying that you might not get Champions League football?
No, I don't think there is. I don't think we've got time to worry about that. I think with the position that we're in, I feel like our form's not been consistently right for a number of months. So the fact that we're still in with a shout is absolutely fantastic for us. We're in a great position. It's still in our hands, and we go into every game that we play, no matter who it's against, no matter where it is, confident that we can win the game. So we've got three cup finals coming up now. We win all three, we go to the Champions League. It's as simple as that.
Mark Albrighton there, laying out the message for the Leicester City players heading into those final 3 games. I asked you guys at home to get involved with the show here on City on the Sofa. That's exactly what you guys have done, and it seems pretty positive, the mood and the feel at home. Let's go, lads. 3 points is a must. The Foxes never quit. Champions League is in our grasp. This one's for Vishay, so confidence there. The next one, they've used the hashtag then, now, again. Remember, if you use that hashtag or hashtag LCFC, you can feature on the show. And finally, Jenny has said she's got her very own mascot for tonight's match with LCFC. Come on, Foxes. And that's another person that we've put to sleep who's watching City on the Sofa, Gerry. We always like to have a look at those people that are at home and are supporting, who normally, obviously, would be here at King Power Stadium.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it, that, you know, we're sat in the studio, just the 3 of us, with cameras all over the place. But so it's really nice when you see those Twitter messages and so on, that you have got a, you know, you can put faces to the messages that are coming on screen. And obviously it's nice for Walshy and myself and also Chris that people do actually listen to us. They may not listen to what we say, but at least they're listening in.
It's a huge problem, isn't it? When I say problem, Chris, it's not a problem in the sense that it's anything that can be solved at the moment. Obviously, the football and the governing body are doing what's right. The fact that there are no fans here, but the fact that these 3 games are huge for Leicester City. They'd love to be able to have the Blue Army supporting them here this afternoon, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Leicester crowd, I mean, the support they give the team, both home and away, but especially at home. I mean, you know, it's such a cauldron for teams to come to. They know they're going to get a game. They know the fans are going to be vociferous and get behind the team, whether they're in the lead, drawing, losing, whatever it is. And it's a real shame because the business end of the season is where fans can really play their part. But, you know, listening to Mark Albrighton, I think the players will have a lot of self-motivation after what happened on Sunday. And that's important. If the crowd aren't there to drive you, you know, it has to come from within and the group. And it looks like they're ready to do that and get back to winning ways this evening.
That's what Mark Albrighton said, wasn't it, Walshy, in that interview that we saw there. He underlined the fact that if Leicester do win their remaining 3 games, then Champions League is assured. It's there. It will happen next season for Leicester City.
Well, of course, you know, I'd be happy just winning tonight just to settle a few nerves. You know, we're one win in 6, is it? You know, and we're still in a top 4 position. We've been in that top 4 since September. So, you know, it's incredible, really, looking at the results side of things since Christmas time. But, yeah, it is a nervy time for everybody. Getting over the line is always hard in every aspect. And, you know, nothing's a give me at the minute. They're going to have to work so hard tonight, like I've said, against a very well-organised, well-drilled Sheffield United team. But we're capable, more than capable, of winning games. There's no doubt, against anyone. It doesn't matter. But sometimes we've been a bit naive, and just a lack of quality in that final, you know, third sometimes has just let us down, and we've seen a few points slip away. But there's an opportunity now tonight here at the King Power with that team. I think it looks pretty strong. You know, you look at the first half against Bournemouth, where the game management was great. They needed that second goal. We all know that, but you know, it was almost like they had a stranglehold on the game completely. And I never expected what I saw in the second half. That it was bizarre, to say the least. But we've dusted ourselves down. We go again, and this is the one.
Gerry, when you were a player and you had a result like the one down at Bournemouth, what was it like?
There were many.
What was it like that week leading up to the next game, and how much hunger was there between you as players to put things right in that next game?
I think it's an important point that Mark Albrighton makes, actually, you know, to use that disappointment as a motivational tool, and that comes from your manager and your management staff as well. You know, and I suppose sometimes when you're feeling a bit low as an individual, you're looking to others for, I wouldn't say to give you confidence, but it's like it's a a mental barrier that you have to cross after a defeat, because people take defeat in different ways. But I know when I was playing in a team that got beaten, I took it personally, because obviously I'm playing at the back and the goals are going in my net, so to speak. So you take that personally. So you try and look to others, and collectively you try and find a way mentally of getting over the disappointment of losing, and two, regaining the confidence, the focus, and the energy to go on into the next game. So it's really, really important that when you come off the back of a defeat like they did on Sunday, yes, you analyse it, yes, you point the finger at whoever needs the finger pointing at, but then you put it to one side, you move on, you refocus, and if needs be, you use that defeat as a motivational tool.
Yeah, Gerry referenced Leicester City manager Brendan Rodgers there. He was asked in the week if he's seen a positive reaction from his players during the week.
We obviously spoke after the game. We were bitterly disappointed with the result, especially having played, so well in the first half and under no real threat. And even at the start of the second half, even though we were under a bit of pressure, we were still strong. But then we gave away obviously 2 very quick goals, and with the sending off, it changed the sort of momentum in the game. And of course, we weren't happy with the end result. But we spoke afterwards, and there's one thing about this group is that they're a very humble group, and like I say, they're always willing to learn. And it was such a shock for me after the game, because I've never seen that in the team. However, it's something that we got over very quickly. And like we said at the beginning of the process, whether we win, lose or draw, you can never be derailed by any result in this period. We just have to move on to the next game, and that's what we've done. Players really positive today, and now we're looking forward to the challenge. So for us, we got 3 games to go. What an incredible position that we're in. We teams have gone throughout the season until this point differently. Some, like ourselves, we right through till Christmas we were fantastic, and probably since that we've been a little bit inconsistent. However, we're still in an incredible position in amongst these super clubs to try and achieve that of getting into the top 4. But whichever way we'll finish this year, we'll hopefully finish in what may well be the second highest position of a Leicester City team in the top flight. So for us, an exciting challenge. The players that were very much there on merit, and now we have to go into just each game and take it from there, because there still will be twists and turns within it, I'm sure.
That was encouraging, Chris, wasn't it? Hearing from Brendan Rodgers there, particularly talking about the reaction that he's seen from his players at the training ground this week after that Bournemouth game.
Well, absolutely. I think that's very important in the build-up to today's game, that the reaction, the way they train, and maybe their body language and how they're talking and walking around the training ground gives the manager the feeling that they're ready and focused on what's needed this evening. But obviously, they have to do that. They have to transfer all the good feeling, all the good training and analysis of the previous game, but also the analysis of Sheffield United, and put it into practice. But he's talking positively, and he has to, and that's right. It's a good sign that the leader is thinking that way, and I'm sure he wants that to be in the players' minds. And someone like Wes Morgan, who's been there, seen it and done it, will be able to lead the troops in the way that Brendan wants them to play this evening. That's an interesting point, Walsh, isn't it? The fact that Wes Morgan is at the back for the Foxes tonight. As Chris said there, he's seen it all, hasn't he, with Leicester City in his time here, pretty much. And they've got that experience now at the back and that drive and determination. He'll want Leicester to finish in the top 4 again.
Oh, of course. He's a massive player in the dressing room. Is Wes, vocally. He's a key talisman in this team that can drive that spirit that's needed, and especially, he's turning to him in a game like this when we do need him. We need a Wes Morgan, whether he's going to be a little bit rusty, he's going to be a difficult game for him to just step straight back into, but he's got enough experience to do that. So there's no problem with trusting with Wes. You know, surprisingly enough, it'd be interesting to see how Johnny Evans, he made a couple of errors, but he's another, you know, great player who's got good experience, and I'm sure he'll be back to normal tonight. But yeah, Brendan, he protects his players, and he knows when to bring players in, and I think Wes is the right move. Like I said, I felt he might bring him in tonight, and he has, and I just hope that for the team, it'd be nice to put a really good performance in tonight and get a win and just settle them nerves going into the last couple of games.
And a win, Gerry, as well, it all but secures a European place, I think, barring a ridiculous goal swing. So that's motivation enough, isn't it? I'm sure, for the Leicester players going into the game.
Yeah, I think that, if I'm being honest with you, I wouldn't even be thinking about that if I was sat in the dressing room. Well, Brendan and the staff, excuse me, are thinking about that and talking about that in the back room, in the offices at the training ground. I would say, yeah, they probably are mentioning that, what's at stake, what they're capable of achieving, and what they would expect themselves to achieve. As far as the players, again, I like the way Brendan talks when he says, whether we win, lose or draw, we don't get too far ahead or too far behind. We try not to get things derailed. And so that means basically what he's saying is you're looking forward to the next opponents in front of us. First and foremost, he wants a performance, a consistent performance, and then hopefully the result follows that. But it's a learning curve for a lot of young players. We've said that. Wes has come in tonight. He's obviously going to give, you know, a massive amount of experience to the team. I think with the experience that he has, I actually think he'll fit in, you know, quite easily, even though he hasn't played a lot. I think he knows how to manage his body, even though he's getting on a bit. I think he knows what he needs to do to get through a game of football. So fingers crossed that the inclusion of Wes tonight just helps the team settle down a little bit and we get some kind of consistent football. I
think it's a physical battle as well tonight, Gerry, which obviously Wes is built for. You see him, he's a rock, isn't he?
Yeah.
And you know, that's a solid three for me that should be winning set pieces. You know, we shouldn't be. You know, the one thing we can't do is start and keep giving these silly free kicks away. But now we've got that extra height and, you know, cleverness of Wes in between Bennett and Evans. I'm guessing he'll play, and set pieces will be a key. He's always a key player, is Wes. So we've got that strength and power at the back now. Have we got that creativity tonight that can, you know, cut a Sheffield United team up? So we beat them away, you know, this season. So you know, I think there's every chance tonight. If we've got 7-8 players playing at least 80% of their game tonight, we'll win.
Yeah, we'll talk about Sheffield United and the way they're lining up, and particularly their front two a little bit later, Chris. But that front two that they've got doesn't have a huge amount of pace. They also don't have a huge amount of pace in an attacking sense coming off the bench either. But that's something that Leicester going forward absolutely do. We think it's going to be Jamie Vardy with Harvey Barnes next to him as a front two. There's a lot of pace there that can get in behind that Sheffield United defence.
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw a snapshot of it on Sunday, you know, and Harvey, in his small cameo, he actually had a really good shot. It was well saved by Ramsdale. And that makes sense, actually, because I was wondering whether it'd be Barnes and Perez sort of behind Jamie. But you can imagine if they're slipped in behind or Harvey's running directly at one of those three centre-backs, it'd be a real test for them. So it's going to be a real battle. And I agree with the guys when you look at Wes coming in, because they've got three solid centre-backs and the two front men are big as well. But for all that, Leicester have to be cute, and they've got the players in Perez, in Barnes, in Tielemans to actually open up this Sheffield United defence, or back five, or even back six, because they defend very well as a unit. But you know, for me, if Leicester are anywhere near it, like she says, 80%, those front boys are at it and ready to move them about and be sort of creative in the final third. Leicester can do a lot of damage to Sheffield United this evening.
Let's hope you are both correct there. Sheffield United are 5 points off the top four, incidentally, which underlines quite what an amazing job they've done in the Premier League, led by their manager, Chris Wilder. But he was talking about Leicester City in his pre-match press conference, and he's been highly complimentary of Brendan Rodgers' side.
They've allowed themselves to have a couple of maybe results that they didn't want, but I've looked at the games and fine margins. I think they easily could have beat Everton. Really unfortunate. And the game on over the weekend against Bournemouth, you know, one mistake gets punished, boy gets sent off, and all of a sudden they have to go and chase the game, and they get on the counter attack by Bournemouth. So how the Premier League is, it's unforgiving. If you make a mistake, as we found out against Leicester in the first game, Maddison's brilliant, one of the best through balls of the season, and a fabulous finish by Jamie Vardy, and a brilliant finish by Harvey Barnes. So it is unforgiving, the Premier League. So we're expecting them to bring their best game. They've got an incredible target to fight for. So there'll be no respite in terms of the quality that we're facing and the attitude of a team that still got a great chance of achieving Champions League football, which will be a brilliant achievement for Brendan and his players.
Gerry, I'm going to put you on the spot here and come to you with a question, because there'll be a lot of talk about who should be the Premier League Manager of the Year. A lot of people, obviously, rightly, will be talking about Jurgen Klopp, but that man that was just on screen there, Chris Wilder, does he get your vote for the job that he's done with Sheffield United this season?
I think I mentioned it on Sunday when we were in here again. I think he deserves it. I think when you look at the squad he's amassed, you know, some of the players, you know, they wouldn't be on many people's list of players to be in your Premier League squad, never mind your Premier League team. And he's somehow created this style of football that suits every one of them. And with the amount of money he hasn't spent, and to get them into a position where they are now on the cusp of Europe, I just think's quite phenomenal. And he's a total breath of fresh air. Not only with the style of football he plays, but when he goes on screen, on the camera, in his media interviews, I just think he's forthright, he's honest, he's open, and that's sadly missing in the modern game from some managers. Do
you think if they finished 10th that he'd get it, or would Brendan be in the chance if we finish 4th?
Yeah.
Listen, no, Gerry, no, he's brilliant. You know, I've got a lot of respect for Wild. He's had a terrific season, and whatever Sheffield do now, you know, like you say, he's one of the main contenders, isn't he?
Absolutely, and we'll talk about the honesty and the breath of fresh air. He spoke about Jamie Vardy very candidly and very brilliantly in his pre-match press conference. We'll talk about that in just a moment, Chris, but how impressed have you been with your namesake this season?
I mean, he's outstanding, and I think what tends to get overlooked is at least 5 or 6 of his players who are playing in the Premier League were in the team in League One, and they've transferred their skills and their qualities not only 1 division but 2, and they've looked comfortable. I think he's great in that he's honest. I mean, it's quite a fairy tale, really. You know, he's a boyhood fan, still lives in the area, sometimes walks to home games. I mean, you just don't get that these days, but the honesty is there, which I think Tags is so right. You don't get that. You get a lot of sound bites where he will call out things about his team, about himself, about the opposition. And yeah, I mean, by rights, he should be Manager of the Year because of what they've achieved and what they could still achieve. But yes, Jurgen may get the favourable vote, but it's very, very impressive what we see from him. It's almost a bit of a throwback, and there's many of us that still like that style. But yeah, I mean, what they've done, especially against a lot of the top teams, is very, very impressive.
Gerry, I don't know if you saw what he said about Jamie Vardy in the week, but he said how he goes down to the pub, and some people at the pub will say, oh, that could have been me playing in the Premier League if it wasn't for an injury. And he just turns around and says, no, it couldn't, because you've not done it. Jamie Vardy has done it. He has been knocked down. He was released by his boyhood club, Sheffield Wednesday, of course. He then worked his way through non-league and has gone on and achieved what he has achieved. Hopefully, he'll win the Golden Boot and he'll lead his club into the Champions League next season. But it was quite fantastic what he said about him, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I watched the whole interview, and again, it just shows you the openness and the honesty. How many managers say, I go down to the pub on a Sunday if I have a win? Quality. He's just an everyday sort of guy, and he realises he's in a very privileged position, but his roots are still there, still grounded, and when you talk about Jamie Vardy, there's no surprise that people want to make a movie about him because of the amount of knocks he did take when he was a young player, and where he actually kick-started his career. I actually live about 2.5 miles from the ground where at Stocksbridge. I actually live about 2.5 miles, so I know the ground well, and it's not the prettiest sight to behold for a footballer walking on the lap pitch, but that's where he kick-started his career. And it's just went from, strength to strength from there. And like you say, Premier League winner, England international, potential Golden Boot winner, potential Champions League player. So fair play to Jamie Vardy and to Chris Wilder.
There's two nice subplots, Walshy. One being George Hurst on the bench, son of a Sheffield Wednesday legend. He's a Sheffield Wednesday boy himself. And then Jamie Vardy, obviously more likely to score, you feel, obviously starting the game. A Sheffield Wednesday fan, and you saw his celebration when he scored against Sheffield United earlier in the season. He cupped his ears to the cop end there, which was a nice moment for him. But that's a good little subplot, isn't it? And Jamie Vardy won't need any more motivation, will he?
No, Jamie's a very, very good professional. You see his goal tally again is relentless. When you mention Leicester City now, the first thing that comes into your mind is Jamie Vardy, especially for opposition, defenders like me and Gerry. The first thing I'd be thinking about, geez, we've got Vardy, he's quick, he can score, we've got to be on our toes tonight. So, he's 23 goals, is it, so far? Considering he's been up there by himself a lot this season. That's a hell of a tally when you break that down. And it's he prides himself on scoring goals. He seems to have got that mojo back, that work rate that he's always had. So he's going to give Sheffield United a run for the money tonight, and deserves it. And you're just going back to Joe Hurst. It's good to see him. I've watched him in the under-23s as well, and big, strong lad. He can finish, good feet. Good holding the ball up. If he gets his opportunity tonight, who knows? His dad will be proud of him. David Hurst. I remember playing against Hurst so many times. What a great player he was, and I'm sure his dad will be very proud if he gets the opportunity tonight. And
Walsh, you mentioned it there, the fact that Jamie Vardy, Chris, is 3 goals clear now of Aubameyang in the race for that Golden Boot. He didn't quite win it in 2016 when Leicester won the league. I'm sure he won't have been too bothered, but it'll be a nice moment for him, won't it, to be able to say when he's retired that he did win the Premier League Golden Boot. And 3 goals clear with 3 to go. He's got a really good chance, hasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly has. And I mean, you're in this game to win things as a team, but personal accolades, especially for a striker, is always very big. And like you say, he missed out in 2016, but of course he had quite a nice consolation prize. But still, it would have been, because he broke the record of scoring consecutively. I think having the Golden Boot is something you always remembered for. We can talk about all the great strikers over the years that have won that. And for him to be on that list, I'm sure would be a great lift for him personally. But you know what? I think he'll take making the Champions League and maybe getting the club as high as they can in the top 4 as something really, really great for him and the team. But yeah, I mean, he's such an exceptional player. It's such a great story from where he's been. It's quite inspirational, to be honest. When you look at Jamie Vardy and his route and pathway to where he is now, I think you can give that to any young boy or girl in life, really, because he's just an inspirational figure and quite a leader for the team. And like Walshy says, when you talk of Leicester City, I generally think of him straight away.
Yeah, he's broke so many records as well with this club since he's been here. What, 7-8 years is it now? I think he's just been so many things that have happened with him, and it's an incredible story for him. It really is.
Well, he'll become the only the second Leicester City player in history to finish top goal scorer in the top league if he breaks it.
You've been looking at your stats, Gerry, haven't you?
Along with Gary Lineker.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. 84-85 season.
I got 16 in one season.
Yeah,
Am I up there?
I thought it was going to be you, Walshy, actually.
That was red cards, Chris.
Going back to what Chris Wilder as well said, Gerry, about Jamie Vardy, and Chris there touched upon it himself about the inspiration that is Jamie Vardy and the story behind it, because what Chris said in his pre-match press conference is the amount of knockbacks that he had, particularly as a youngster, Jamie Vardy. And you said down at Stockbridge, it isn't the nicest ground. It's not the greatest standard of football, obviously, but he went from that to what hopefully is going to be a Premier League Golden Boot winner. Yeah,
it boils down to two things: desire and hunger. It's as simple as that. But you don't get associated, or you don't join a professional football club as a youngster if you don't have talent. So we all knew that the talent, and Jamie knew that the talent was there. He probably didn't fit the profile that Sheffield Wednesday were looking at the time. Who knows? I don't know. Only the Lord knows why Sheffield Wednesday let him go when they did. But that desire and that hunger has shone through, obviously, ever since that day. And that's what we're still seeing today. Forget about, obviously he's become a lot more a rounded player. His movement, the timing of his movement, his finishing, his types of finishes have become sublime in some cases. But never forget the desire and the hunger. That's what has got him through to where he is today.
Well, let's get the thoughts now from Richard Sutcliffe, the Sheffield United writer for The Athletic. He underlines how big a game it is for both clubs.
It's an amazing turnaround, really, because I think back to the Leicester game back in August, and I think that was the welcome to the Premier League moment for Sheffield United. It was a close enough game, lost 2-1, but the quality for that first goal, they lost the ball in midfield, ball went to Maddison, one touch, played Vardy through, Vardy scores. And I think everyone looked at each other and thought, this is the third game, and that's the first time they've really seen Premier League class. And you thought, well, Leicester are going to have a fantastic season. We can see that. And I thought Sheffield United would stay up, but I thought it would be a struggle. And I thought that, sort of 2 or 3 games to go, they'll be 15th, 16th, and just hold on, going into this game, really, which would have been on my birthday back when they originally done. So I'd already pinpointed it. But it's just been remarkable. And, they had a bit of a dip after the resumption of the Premier League, but the form over the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, it's been fantastic. And no word of lie, they will fancy themselves going into Thursday night. Ollie McBurney's playing well. He's doing, he's got 6 goals now, which is not a lot when you look against Vardy with his 22, 23. But his all-round work is just phenomenal. Sander Berg, who the record signing, the signed in January, 22 million. He's really started to settle. But my player of the year has been Jack O'Connell, who's the left-sided centre half. Bombs forward as much as he can, and his delivery from out wide. And he missed the first few games after lockdown had lifted, and Sheffield United really suffered without him. I thought, Jack Robinson did okay defensively, but going forward, Jack O'Connell brings so much to it, and I think he's been my standout player from what's been a very good team.
Thanks to Richard Sutcliffe there from The Athletic. We've asked you guys to get in touch with us here on City on the Sofa. You can do so using hashtag LCFC or hashtag ThenNowAgain. We've had a good few of you in. This is from the Windy City Fox. They've just captioned it, "Let's go." They're very excited, I'm sure, for the Foxes this afternoon. Edward Tucker says, "We're with you, LCFC. Foxes never quit." He's used both hashtags, ThenNowAgain and LCFC. Jack Lawson says, "We still control our own fate. Let's do this." And he's got his face mask to boot as well there. He's fully kitted out. And then a fantastic poem has been sent in to us by Izzy, which reads, "The blades are sharp and ready to fight, but they're on a good run in the top flight. But class will shine through, and though it is tight, the Foxes are fierce and have their own bite. With 3 games to go for the Champions League, the Foxes are cornered, depleted, fatigued. But Foxes don't quit, so let's back our men. Leicester, we're with you, then, now, again." So fantastic poem there, sent in by Izzy Styles. So thank you very much for that there, Izzy. Gerry, you were laughing along as well during that. It's a lovely poem, isn't it?
Yeah, I was normally when you listen to a poem at last, there's probably 1 or 2 verses, but you absolutely got every sort of catchphrase, catchline, with hashtag, whatever you want to call it. Associated with Leicester City into that poem. Fantastic.
Yeah, Walshy, those fans that are at home, whether it is here in Leicester, whether it's over in the States that we saw from one of those, they're ready for this, and you get the sense they know just how big of a game it is.
Everyone in Leicester does around the world now, as you know. Leicester are massive, and it's just the sense of, the nerves and everything's just, every game is getting bigger in the pressure side of things. So it's just, like I say, Leicester, they're a roller coaster team. There's always something just happens, and like I've said before, I expect something in the last game. I've just got a feeling that Man United, we're just going to do it in the last game. So look, this is an opportunity to extend a gap that makes it harder for the other teams below us, and puts pressure again on Chelsea, because they've got a couple of hard games left of Chelsea against Wolves and Liverpool. So they could possibly lose them 2 games, I think. And so this is a very, very important game, as much as we know that is. But it's the performance tonight and that team shape and solidity. I think it looks good. It looks strong to me, and I think there could be a few goals in this if we get it right.
We've just seen some shots there from King Power Stadium, Gerry, and the players going through their warm-ups. Naturally, the camera was focused, of course, on Luke Thomas, the debutant there. But he looked confident. He looks ready, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think, obviously there's going to be a lot of nerves flowing through Luke Thomas's veins, but it is important that you stay calm as much as you can. And I say he'll get the help of the other players around him. Even the players themselves, they'll be calm, they'll be collected. They know it's a big game, but it's a game. I think they'll be more concerned with the performance, the consistency levels as well, rather than obviously the result, which is for everyone else and obviously for the club is massive. But I think first and foremost, you've got to start at the beginning. One, you have to be consistent with your performance, do the basics right, and that's all you can be worried about. So you've got to stay calm, you've got to stay focused, and you just got to try and be confident in your own ability.
Well, we're just over 10 minutes away from kickoff now here at King Power Stadium. So let's hear from a man who's played for both clubs. Richard Stearman says that the Foxes will have to be at their very best to get all 3 points today.
Yeah, definitely. I think they struggled. They were one of the teams that, the pandemic or coming back after the lockdown, struggled to get going a little bit in the first couple of games. But we've seen the last few results. They've certainly picked up. They're back to sort of pre-lockdown form that they were in. They've got the confidence going again, like you say, and the goals are flowing as well. So it's certainly going to be a tough test for Leicester City. But like I said, it's certainly a game that one I'm looking forward to, and hopefully we'll have a good game.
Rather than individuals that Leicester fans maybe need to look out for, it's more of a team, isn't it, Sheffield United? There's not one real standout player. It's the way they all play together that makes them so dangerous.
Yeah, and that's the big strength with Sheffield United. The manager, Chris Wilder's built such a team unit and their work ethic for each other is so strong. Their unity, like I say, it's certainly probably their biggest strength, is the team as a collective, and in that they know, everyone knows their role, the system that they play, which is so well publicised. Everyone, like I said, knows their job. So it's going to be a tough ask for Leicester City, and with Sheffield United playing so well recently, it poses to be a good game.
What do you think the key is for Leicester going into the game? If they want to get all 3 points, obviously the chase for the Champions League, 3 points could be vital. How do they go about getting it, do you think?
Well, they've no doubt looked at how Sheffield United play. I think I was still at the club at the start of the season when Leicester came to Sheffield United, came to Bramall Lane, and they were the best team that I've seen at Bramall Lane this season. They were fast, they were free flowing. Maddison into Vardy was it was a joy to watch, and they came away with the 3 points that day. They've got to dust themselves off from the result last game, not really dwell on it, learn from the mistakes that they made, and move ahead and try and push on and try and pick up those 3 points that will be so valuable to them in their quest for European football.
Thanks to Richard Stearman there, former Fox and Sheffield United player, of course. He was a Sheffield United player at the beginning of this season, so thanks to him for doing that for us. We have just lost Chris Powell, so we'll get him back as soon as we can, hopefully in time for kickoff. But hearing from Richard Stearman there, Gerry, speaking very eloquently about both Leicester and Sheffield United, he knows the ins and outs of Chris Wilder and that Sheffield United team, and he's under no illusions that Leicester will have to be at their very best if they want to get anything from this game.
Yeah, it goes without saying, as much as Leicester have got lots to play for, so have Sheffield United. They want to break their own records since coming back into the Premier League. I think, though, if I'm right, Sheffield United, although their home form has been very good, they've had 4 away games since coming back from lockdown, and I think they've only scored 1 goal, and they've lost 2 and drawn 2, but only scored 1 goal. So I think, that's a bit of a cause for concern. Well, hopefully it is a bit of a cause for concern for Chris Wilder away from home, and hopefully that's something that Brendan is earmarked or given, the players something to cling on to as a confidence booster. That the goal scoring form and their form in general. Okay, you could go back to the Villa game and say that they should have won that game, or a VAR goal that wasn't given should have been given, or the touchline technology, whatever way you want to work at it. But it is fair to say that they do struggle in front of goal away from home. So little bit of light at the end of the tunnel there.
We talked, Walsh, didn't we, about Jamie Vardy, Harvey Barnes up front, the pace that they've got that could cause Sheffield United problems. But Sheffield United strikers, they're not blessed with too much pace, so maybe that will play into the hands of Morgan, Bennett and Evans? Yeah,
hopefully, that's right. Sheffield United, they're banging form at the moment, and, McGoldrick, they're going to have to be on their toes, because the finishers, these, and the work so hard that... And the movement is very good. So we'll have to be on our toes at the back, but you'd fancy that the 3 centre-backs that we've got to handle them tonight. I really feel there's a win tonight, and the European tour will be on, because you'd more or less say we're in the... Yeah, that's right. You'd more or less say that we will finish in the top 5 then, surely. So... it'll just silence the critics again and just get us back on track, like Gerry said. But it's interesting, the Sheffield United team, collectively they know what they're doing. Like we said, we just know everything about them, and it's just handling it tonight. Gerry and I got a little bit distracted there because we saw Matt Elliott on one of our screens. He's on LCFC radio duty this evening. You can hear him and Chris Parrott talking you through the full 90 minutes. We've got Chris Powell back, so the 4 of us will also talk you through the full 90 minutes here on City on the Sofa. As it always is, you guys at home do get your thoughts throughout the game into us using the hashtag LCFC or hashtag ThenNowAgain. We'll be back in time for kickoff.